Yeah, at least I get to see where they're building the city.
That's
right.
Situations where it's like, okay, do we let him?
It's kind of why I like this job. I get to pick up interesting people.
And see interesting things.
Yep. I like when I pick up guys from like SpaceX or something like that. And when I pick up people that are like engineers and stuff.
Yep, that's what you're doing now.
I like talking to them. I like picking their brains about stuff.
Well, this whole world is flat thing. Has anyone ever seen pictures of Earth from space?
Nope. Well, not real pictures. You've seen Photoshop pictures. Even the ones that were told that were taken by the astronauts in the 70s with those 70s cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are Photoshopped. Grab the image off of the NASA website that is their official image. Pull up Photoshop, run the layers through it, and watch what happens.
Meaning it shows that it's flat?
Meaning, no, it shows that they have actually cut things out and added things to that picture.
Why?
Like, if you've ever seen the 1970 like Earthrise photo where it shows like from the moon and shows the Earth way out there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a big black box all around that Earth.
Oh.
And then when a bunch of people started saying like, hey, why is this Photoshop? That makes no sense. The picture went down for about 3 days and then went back up. And now when you do it, it doesn't have the big box around it. But if you zoom in, you can see where, like if you use Photoshop quite a bit, when you erase something, it still leaves like those little triangles of the pixels. If you zoom in, you can still see the pixels.
But why, if the Earth is flat, hypothetically, who cares? Why are we keeping that a secret?
Well, first off, because of my background with scripture and stuff like that, I see it as they're hiding God. Because now, if it's flat the way it's looks, the way I'm starting to notice things, right? Then that means somebody built it. Like, it has to be. Like, it's like a terrarium, you know? Now, that can't happen with the ball spinning around the Earth, spinning around the sun, because with the ball, that can be an accident, you know? Like, you can make the situation to where that can be an accident, like gravity, right? Mm-hmm. Gravity is so important in all aspects of science, but yet I stopped and I started digging into it, and it doesn't hold any, no pun intended, but it doesn't hold any weight. Newton came up with the equation of gravity, right?
Right.
Fg equals big G.
MVA. Yeah, mass times force times velocity.
Two masses, right? Isn't it M1, M2?
There are.
Right? Because you're trying to figure out the relationship between them?
And there's kinetic, because there's kinetic. It depends on kinetic and potential.
So then that means that Newton in the 1700s would have had to have had an accurate idea of the mass of the Earth for one variable in the equation, and the big G, you know, is the gravitational constant, right?
Right.
But who came up with the gravitational constant? Henry Cavendish, almost 150 years later. So what good was Newton's equation for 150 years? Why would it even be remembered for 150 years? Because it was unsolvable. You had to take liberties with a couple of the variables. And then on top of that, Cavendish's experiment on finding the gravitational constant, for something called the gravitational constant, every time we measure it, it's a different number.
That doesn't mean it's constant. Obviously.
Exactly. Well, because his experiment that he did was 2 lead balls in a shed in the 1800s. And this is what we're basing so much of our science off of. Like, another thing that plays into gravity is them telling us that the reason why we have gravity is because of our core. The core of the Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they tell us that it's a magnetic core. Well, what happens if you heat up a magnet
It melts.
and it no longer is a magnet? It loses its
its
magnetic
properties.
probabilities. So, what kind of molten metal core that's a magnet do we have in the middle? Or, on top of that, how do we even know what's down there? Because they show us that that picture in the textbook, right? That looks like a jawbreaker.
Yes.
Each layer is like 1,000 miles deep. And there's 4 layers, so it's like 4,000 miles to the center of the earth, they tell us. Well, if that is the case, how far down would you be comfortable with them digging before they came to you and told you that was a fact? Like a quarter of the way, 1,000 miles, right? That seems fair, right?
A quarter of the way.
A quarter of the way?
Okay.
Doesn't that seem fair? But
Okay.
the problem is that the deepest hole on Earth, 8 miles deep.
Which would be 2,000 times 1,600. Wait, no, a mile is 5,280 feet, right?
Yeah. It's only 8 miles is the deepest hole.
So that would be 40,000 feet.
I didn't say feet. I said it's 4,000 miles to the center of the Earth.
Oh.
So basically, going
Haven't
8
scratched
miles
the surface.
is 0.002% of what they're trying to tell us. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but I call bullshit. How do you know? Right?
Nobody can prove it, is what you're saying. Or nobody has been able to prove it.
Or even come close.
Sure.
That'd be like the equivalent of if you had never ever seen a coconut before, right?
Okay.
Not like one you buy in the store, but one off a tree with a husk on it. All right? And I give you an X-Acto knife and a doctor's stethoscope. And I tell you, here, you can bang on this thing all you want, and you can stab it as much as you want. Tell me what's in the middle. Would you ever be able to? Accurately. Or even close to accurately. Even if you shook it around and heard the liquid moving, you could only tell me it was liquid. You couldn't tell me that you could drink it. You couldn't tell me that it was clear.
Okay.
Like, there's way too much missing. Or Venus can be seen at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's like the brightest light in the sky besides the moon. Well, that's at night. At night, we're facing away from the sun, right? That's how we're able to see the stars. What's the order of the planets, though? The sun, and then Mercury, and then what's
Jupiter?
next? No, Venus.
Is it Venus?
Yes.
Wait, there's a thing you're supposed to remember, right? What's the saying to get all of them in line? I don't remember. But
I don't remember.
go
But
on with your point.
But no, so Venus is in between Earth and the sun.
Venus is in between the Earth and the Sun.
Yeah,
okay?
because it goes the sun, Mercury, and then Venus, and then Earth. So if Venus is in between us and the sun, the only time you can see Venus is if you're looking towards the sun. But we see it at 10 o'clock at night, facing away from the sun. That makes no sense.
Why is it taking this long for people to start refuting the theory then?
Because we've been trained and indoctrinated by our parents, and then by their parents, and then by their parents. Check this out. They weren't even before they went to the moon, okay? Before they got the picture from the moon, they couldn't 100% tell everyone, yeah, it's a ball, you know? But then when they come back from space with a fake picture, now they're able to be like, see, we told you, we were right. Right? Like, Copernicus, what's his name? Eratosthenes?
Aristotle?
Not even Aristotle. It's Eratosthenes. Different guy. He's the guy that stuck the 2 sticks in the ground and measured the distance of the sun at 93 million miles away. But he also measured it at 3,000 miles away if the world was flat. he had two different calculations, but everyone forgets about the first one that says that if it's flat, it was 3,000 miles away. Like, because, I mean, the numbers, you can make the numbers do what you want them to do. But yeah, all those guys, once that was put in school, they didn't really even need to push it all that much anymore. Because in school, they put a globe in every single classroom.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And you're told this is where you live. If you ask any questions about it, like, hey, why don't people fall off the bottom? What do they tell you? Gravity. Which is crap. If they tell you, if you ask them, okay, so space is a vacuum, Earth is a non-vacuum. Can you think of any example where a vacuum and a non-vacuum coexist side by side without a solid barrier?
Right, because they cancel each other out.
They create equilibrium. But when you ask someone about that with the Earth and stuff like that, they're like, oh, well, gravity holds the atmosphere together. Okay. But even if it is holding the atmosphere together, if we send things to the moon, then we poked holes in that.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you poke a hole in a soda can? It creates equilibrium. So either our atmosphere is constantly leaking out into space, or something's going on. But yeah, it really, the 1940s Universal Studios,
You're going to be on the left here?
on the left, that's right. The 1940s Universal Studio thing for the movies,
Yeah.
right, was a globe in the 40s and the 30s, before we ever went to the moon. How'd they know it was a globe? No one had even gone up high enough to see anything, you know? We didn't even have air travel until the 1910 or 1800, late 1800s with the Wright brothers. So this is just a big old hole right now?
Yeah.
Left in here?
Left here, yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because this actually has the GPS point.
Yep, nope, this is exactly where.
But like the International Space Station doesn't make any sense either. If you want a good one, go home and look up ISS Hairspray. Because if you're in zero gravity and someone with like long hair, like longer than yours, if they were in zero gravity, it would be.
Morning, how you doing?
What's up, boss?
Hi.
All right, could you,
Yeah.
how you doing?
I'm with Turner Lorianne Stevens.
Okay. You know where you're going?
I'm going to the Legends trailer.
Okay, just follow the road up and around to the right till you get to the designated trailer with the banner.
Thank you.
All right, have a great one.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay, sorry. ISS Hairspray.
Yeah, like if you were in zero gravity and you had long hair, your hair would look kind of like you're in a pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would it look like you're the Bride of Frankenstein?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Like,
if you have
like
zero gravity?
zero gravity, would it look like you're the Bride of Frankenstein? If you remember the movie The Bride of
I
Frankenstein,
do.
her hair was not free flowing. It was stiff, straight up.
Like she'd stuck it in a socket.
Yes. Not like you're in a pool. So yeah.
Let me show you where to go. Okay, keep going straight.
But yeah, that's why I like doing this and talking to the people from SpaceX and stuff like that, because the average person, it seems these days, doesn't have a brain in their head. And at least engineers and stuff like that, at least you guys think. And I like to think. He said to the right, right?
Go right here to the right. I know where I am now.
Ah, right there where it says Turner?
Yep, that's us.
Gotcha. So about how long until they're going to have this thing done?
19. Perfect. This works.
So we got 2 years so we can watch a football game here?
That's correct.
Wow. Already.